Amanda. Great to see you, and thank you for joining Southside Stories.
It's a pleasure. Nice to see you too, Matt.
Great. Well, listen, we will start with these sessions just by getting the story behind the person. So, Amanda, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you based, your job title, and your company? Let's start with that.
Yeah. So we are based in Southwark, in Great Guildford Street, at the Metal Box Factory, and I started Powwow 27 years ago, which is an event management company. And we are really enjoying being in this area. It's quite exciting around here.
Do you mean in the Southwark area of London?
Yeah.
It is a great area. I know that street pretty well. There's some very interesting businesses, I think, where you are, and also in that location.
Yeah. It's wonderful. We used to be in Clapham Junction, which was slightly different, but that was fine too.
Yeah. No, I've really enjoyed doing Southside Stories. We've interviewed fintech and architects and design companies, and I think it might even be in your street. There's a company called Volt Bikes who are in sustainable bikes.
Heard of them.
So lots of interesting neighbours you have down there.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about. I'm curious, just in terms of how you structure the business, and do you run the business now, or are you an advisor? How does that look now?
No, I don't. As I say, I started 27 years ago, and after a long career in events, 12 years in events, 6 years in Hong Kong, 6 years in London, and then I started my own business, and then I did another 6 years on my own, building up the business, and employed a few people along the way. And then my accountant said the company was like a train without a driver. So we got a driver on board, which is actually my husband, who is currently our CEO. So we've been working together for 20 years. And we also have an MD, Katie, who has also been with Powwow for just over 20 years, nearly 21. And we also have 3 other leaders. So we're called the SLT, Senior Leadership Team. And basically between us, we have about 114 years experience at Powwow collectively. So I'm really very proud of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a pedigree and bench strength of experience there. That's fantastic. I got to ask you, man, and we've had a few sort of family members on. Someone was managing a business with their brothers. I'm always very curious, how do you differentiate between home life and business life, and what's it like working with your husband?
Yeah, it's great actually. It's quite strange. If I'm at home and he's in the office, I still look forward to him coming home in the evening. So we still get along really well. He's the finance brain behind Powwow. Finance isn't my best subject, so he's brought that, and he also did marketing. So he's very good at business development, marketing, and just a great leader, which everybody loves. Everybody who's worked for Powwow loves. So yeah, we try not to talk about business at the weekend. Or in the evenings. He'll quite often say, I don't want to talk about that. When I wake up on Saturday morning and say, oh, did we do this? So yeah, he's quite good and very strong about not thinking about it all the time, which I tend to do, which is not good. But it's just one of those things.
How would you say your skills complement each other? So if he's a finance whiz and he's great at marketing, how do you complement your skill set?
Yeah, have you heard of 5 Voices, the assessment? So you're either a pioneer.
Rings a bell.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a pioneer. Yeah. I'm a creative connector. So I have always been a massive networker. So I spend a lot of my time. I'm very social when I go to a lot of industry events. And Matt tends to have his eyes on the future and what the company's going to look like in 5 years' time. I think that too, but I'm more of a get out there, meet people, put Powwow on the map. So that's how different we are.
Great. Well, that's a great compliment to each other. Actually, that probably answers my next question, actually, which was, why did you choose events? What is it about the events? And I can already guess a little bit of the answer, perhaps. But why did you get involved with the events industry?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. People of my generation, I think, often fall into events or fell into events. I was working in Hong Kong. I was working for McKinsey and Company. I was kind of their office manager, and I was organising events for them, parties and a retreat to Phuket and things like that. And I thought, oh, I actually really like this. I'm kind of an organised person, and I just love seeing people happy. So when I left Hong Kong after 6 years, having done a lot of events, I came back to London and I landed a job as head of events at McKinsey at the time, which was absolutely amazing. And I love the travel aspect of it. I just love seeing people happy and enjoying an event. Even if you don't get massive thank yous, it's just a real sense of satisfaction at the end when it's all gone really well, which, touch wood, it generally does. But nowadays, a lot of my team have a degree in event management. So you can do a 3 or 4 year degree in events now. And it's very popular. So it's a really great profession to be in.
Well, as a creative connector, that's got to be the most perfect industry for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. That's probably why I've been doing it for a very long time.
I mean, I've sort of been on the client side of a few events in my time, and it's quite stressful, isn't it? There's so many things to worry about and organize,
it's a stressful job. And I think that you have to be quite a relaxed person to do it. If you're a really stressy person, I don't think you'd be able to do it. I think you either love it or you can't do it at all. It is stressful. It's very hard work. You get some difficult clients, but it's the challenge. I think we all love the challenge of having, a complex event to run. And you probably can't think about it too hard when you've got 2,000 people turning up on a Sunday night in Cambridge, or, you're in Prague and there's a snowstorm and the plane can't land in Prague. It lands in Vienna, and then you have to get them bussed in. You're just constantly on catch up, or actually, no, you're always ahead of the game. You always have to think about what's going to happen next. But it is a stressful job.
Yes, it sounds it.
Really.
It sounds it. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
Because I would be worrying about the 1,000 things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
And you need that sort of calm.
You need to
get things done, but the calmness as well.
Yeah. You need to be very calm, and pretty much everything is fixable. Everything is doable. You can. I learned at McKinsey for 12 years. They always had this can-do attitude, and that's how I built my business. This isn't rocket science. You can always find an answer and a way around something, but you have to be willing to actually find that and actually go above and beyond and make it happen.
And I guess resourcefulness is a key.
Yeah,
in initiative, resourcefulness.
Absolutely.
Key skill sets. Yeah. Tell us a little bit then, just talking about Powwow, and give us a flavour of some of the clients that you work with and the type of events that you do.
Yeah. Well, because of my background of 12 years working for a professional management consultants, I guess a lot of our clients have come from that area. So we work with some of the big consultancy companies. We work with professional services. We work with finance, so private equity, venture capital. We have a few private clients, and we've done some pretty amazing events with them. We also have worked with so Tata Steel, so that's a really different industry. We've worked with Sainsbury's. We don't have, some agencies have they work solely with like the medical profession, or they do automobile. car launches and things like that. But we have quite a broad base of clients, but often it has been in financial services and professional services. That's where we've had a lot of our business, but we are diversifying, and we're doing an event in Salt Lake City.
Wow. Okay.
In a few months' time for a very different client, but we love that client. And it's quite exciting to have different industries to work with.
Tell us about a particular event that perhaps you think best, that you've really enjoyed doing, or you think best typifies what Powwow is really good at doing.
Yeah. So a lot of our events are conferences. So they're probably 150, 200 people. They're 3-day, 2-night conferences. They could happen in the UK, or they could happen overseas. We do a lot of events in Europe. Especially clients love to go to the sun. So Spain and France, Italy, are great places to do events. So I'd say probably 40%, maybe 30% of our work is overseas. The rest is in the UK. And those are conferences with speakers. So we deal with all the logistics of people coming in. We arrange the speakers. We sometimes get involved in the content and the strategy of the event. And often there'll be a sort of team bonding, team building element one afternoon of building masts on the beach, or going out in boats, or doing a treasure hunt around Marrakesh or something like that. And then the gala dinner. So those are our we do quite a lot of events like that. Actually, our events are so varied. We just did a tea and drinks at Fortnum and Mason for 300 people.
That's also an amazing stat you got there. You've been organising something amazing for 20 years for the same client, and I think you've got a couple of clients that have been with you for a long time. Is that right?
We do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I'm a bit loath to name the clients because a lot of the stuff we do is confidential. So, but yeah, we've got clients 22 years, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, 12 years. Yeah, we do. It's amazing that we keep them. But I think that because our leadership team has been with us for so long, we've built up those relationships and that trust, that it's kept them with us. And we're obviously pretty good at what we do to keep them. And yeah, it's fantastic that we do. And of course, when someone leaves the business that we've been working with for 5 years, they hopefully will take us with them into their new company. So we our business development we've done has really been organic growth as people sort of move on. We do marketing, we do business development, but a lot of our clients are word of mouth.
That's very impressive because, of course, on the client side, over that time frame, they're going through stuff, and sometimes it plays to your benefit, of course, because then you get a referral from a new company.
Yeah.
But the baton is sort of being handed down within those client organizations, which is it's an incredible sort of testimonial to what you do. Yeah. I mean, apart from obviously you're incredibly competent, creative at what you do, plus you've got that bench strength we talked about earlier. Is there anything else that you think is a key ingredient to keeping clients for that long, year on year?
I think that just being open and honest, and as I say, trust is a massive element in everything that we do. If a client's going to trust you to do their AGM live, a virtual event, an AGM live, that we have to get it right. Wow. And we've been doing that AGM live for probably 13 years. Some of it was virtual, some of it was actually in their offices, or some of it actually was in massive congress centres around the UK. But we've been doing that event for years, and it's just all about trust. and about experience. We have that longevity, we have that experience that they know that we're not going to mess up. And if something does happen, they'll know that we'll manage to correct it somehow. And we do. Thank goodness.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, it's a great testament to how good you are at what you do. Let's switch a little bit to the events industry more broadly. Sort of been an interesting ride over the last 5 years, hasn't it? But tell us a little bit about how. I mean, COVID, of course, was a big impact. How has it been since COVID for you?
COVID was awful. We went from 24 people to 6, and it was some of the worst months of my life because it was like divorcing your family. We had to make all these redundancies to people we loved, and it was absolutely horrific. Luckily, one of our team just jumped on the virtual stuff, and we've done virtual before, but we'd never done it on that scale. And we just managed to pick up some business. I mean, it was absolutely awful because we didn't get any funding. I mean, I think we got about, I don't know, $8,000 or something from the government. Of course, we had the payments from the government for salaries and things like that. What was that called? I can't remember what it was called.
The furlough scheme?
We did furlough. We furloughed the team for as long as we could until we realised that we just had to let them go. But the government didn't really recognise our industry, which was soul destroying. I was actually on Parliament Square holding up a banner during COVID saying, recognise our industry. I think we contribute about, at the time, it's about £83 billion to the million or billion. I think it was billion. Or I can't actually, don't quote me on that. But we contribute a lot. But people didn't recognise our industry, and it was soul destroying. And some people were getting handouts of £250,000, and we got £8,000. So we kind of almost lost our business, but luckily we stepped up to virtual, and we're now bucked up. We've got we're close to 30 people again, which is amazing, and we got through it. But we had a lot of sleepless nights, and that leadership team, they just kept us going. We laugh a lot. We really enjoy working together. We have a really lovely culture in the office, and we just kept that going. We kept talking. They'd come to our house. We'd meet in the Cotswolds or something, and we just had to get through it. And it was tough, but it was the toughest time ever. But of course, we've been through 2008. We've been through 2012. Those recessions. It's been a roller coaster, and event management doesn't, you're not going to be a multi-millionaire owning an event management company because, your services aren't recognised and you're not able to earn massive fees, which is fine because we do it because we love it, not for money, essentially. But it was really tough, really tough.
Yeah, incredibly stressful time, and I guess a testament to the strengths of the leadership team.
Yeah.
Because
and of course, my husband and I had everything in it. If we'd have lost power, we would have lost both our jobs, and probably our house. And it would have been horrific.
Incredibly high stakes, yeah. And well, kudos to you for actually retaining some of the spirit and the humour when tough times got really, really tough going, and getting through that. So well done on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you think in a kind of, I'm sure it would not have felt this immediately after COVID, but do you think in a strange sort of way, were there any benefits from COVID? Because I mean, I found that as a marketeer, we were sort of itching to get back to those face-to-face.
Yeah.
And for some businesses, COVID has meant you took a really hard look at the cost base, and there were some other sort of some benefits to COVID. Were there any of that for you?
Yeah, I think that people weren't obviously spending their budget. So when COVID was over, it was like, okay, we've got all this money spent. We need to get back in touch with our customers. We need to see them face to face. So yeah, we had the best year ever. I think that was 2022, possibly we had the best year
Probably.
ever. And so, yeah, definitely. And people started doing, oh, yeah, we'll do a virtual event, and oh, maybe we'll do hybrid. But actually, hybrid is not that easy because you've got people in front of you and you've got people at home. So you have to create an amazing experience for the people at home. Otherwise, you're just going to go and make a cup of tea when you've got to your keynote speaker. They're like, oh, I'm just going to go and get some tea. Whereas in a room, they can't do that. So hybrid is also really expensive. So you're either going to do a live event or you're going to do a virtual event. I think hybrid, people thought, oh, this is the way to go. It's going to be virtual all the way or hybrid. But actually, that hasn't turned out that way. We do still a lot of virtual events. We do some graduate recruitment for a very big accountancy, one of the big, are they big four or big five now? So we do graduate recruitment, and that's a constant thing, but it's all virtual. But actually, it has started to go back to a little bit of live, but we did a lot of virtual over COVID. So yeah, I would never say it's been a good thing. I got hand on heart. That was just the most awful experience ever. And people used to, dress up for dinner and that, oh, we're having a great time. And, and I'm like, I'm having the worst time ever, being a social animal as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It was almost, impossible. So I'll never say that it was a good thing.
No. Okay. Yeah. I remember actually, we doing a digital health tech consultancy, and we would normally have done a face-to-face annual event in Singapore, and instead, I think this was deep into COVID.
Yeah,
we did a virtual one, and there was a time where it was like, virtual is going to be amazing. You can kind of recreate the experience, and all these platforms popped up.
Yeah,
but actually getting people into that virtual environment, getting participation when you've got so many other things to distract you, and you're not in the room with a live person in front of you.
We did an award.
There's no substitute.
We did an awards ceremony. It was hilarious. We had, I don't know, there was about 15 of our team out knocking on doors saying, "You've won an award," and the big staff would come down and open the door, and we'd have to film it on our phones. And it just we did some of the funniest things during COVID, virtual things, but it kept us going. So that's good. But go to Singapore, have such a great time.
Yes, no, absolutely. Yeah, real life. You can't substitute for it.
No.
But I am going to ask about technology and sort of where you think events is going. And actually, I was just thinking just now that I guess there's some similarities in terms of going to the theatre and in that live production and events. And there are some amazing productions which are blending that live experience with technology. Actually, Stranger Things was an incredibly well produced stagecraft. But tell us a little bit where you think that might go for the events. You talked about hybrid is hard to do, but what do you think an event might look like in a couple of years' time? Pretty much the same as now, or do you think there will be some differences?
I think that it's difficult because I think post-COVID, the different generations coming through now are going to want things differently. Some people don't want to go to events, and so we'll need to provide that content in a different way and try and figure out how they want to see it, because normally they do everything on their phone or their laptop. So generationally, I think it's going to be interesting. Because, I was actually on a panel for International Women's Day on Monday about intergenerational working. And, I was astounded that, a lot of people don't want to be in the office at all. and some people go in 1 day a week, but wish that they could go in more. So, back to what I think it's going to look like. I think over the next couple of years, it will stay the same. AI is going to be really important. Obviously, that will save us a lot of time, when you're building sort of, creating sets or invitations or writing proposals and things like that. At the moment, that's that will help us. But I guess, I think in 10 years' time, things might look really different, but I'm not quite sure how that will look. I don't know what you think from your point of view.
I think one thing that's probably going to happen more and more is that sort of the device that the mobile, and who knows what that will look like in a couple of years' time, but they're, almost an extension of the experience into almost your lap. You see at the moment with voting, don't you? And you put up a vote, and then people go to a platform and vote on things or interact or ask questions through the mobile. I'm sure there are going to be more creative uses of, the technology that people are bringing into the live event to encourage interactivity. That might be one area.
Yeah, absolutely. But look at the Brits on, was it this week? What amazing stage sets and things that they were doing. But there was nothing really unusual, there's nothing we haven't really done before. It was just a bit more flamboyant and incredibly spectacular. But I think live events are going to probably feel pretty much the same over the next 2 to 3 years. But I think in 10 years, it might look very different.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch topic now a little bit to talk about something you just touched on, actually, which is the next generation, which we're going to, and younger people, and we're going to come on to that in a second. Before I get to that, just ask you this question, which is, you've been an entrepreneur for a good stretch of time. What do you love about being an entrepreneur and being your own boss?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stress that, as you've described already, that comes with it. But what is it that you love about that?
Yeah. I think when we first spoke, I called myself an accidental entrepreneur. I didn't ever think that I'd get to this stage in life. I left school at 16. I pretty much had nothing growing up. I lived in a council house, which is not a bad thing, but, I'm just being honest. And I just strived throughout my career to be the best that I could be at everything I did. And just managed to find myself working at head office, or, I'm going to live in Hong Kong. I'm going to be working at McKinsey, which I loved and formed a lot of my, I think, excitement for doing my own thing, because that was absolutely encouraged. I love having flexibility. I've got 3 children. I remember telling a few of my senior team, after I'd been working flat out for, 20 years plus doing events, 25 years if you add all of that career before, saying I'm employing you so that I can work a bit less, because I didn't have maternity leave. I took my daughter on a plane to Bermuda when she was 3 months old to do a site inspection. I started the business when my son was 5 months old, and then my last son, who's 24, can't really remember him writing. So I just found it all really exciting. I love our team. We've always had, a multi-generational team. So I've loved being kept, young with them, and, just going into the office. I've never had a Sunday night kind of feeling like I used to at school. I hated it. I used to feel sick on a Sunday night. And I'm doing this. And since I started my jobs, I really look forward to them. And I just look forward to coming in the office. I love coming in the office, today, seeing everyone. We have fun. It's just good fun. And I'm proud that I've built this. I think
you should be.
A lot of people
absolutely
would be very surprised to see, from from the olden days. She did what? So I'm quite pleased that I got here. I'm not quite sure how, but I did.
Yeah, it's funny all these paths, isn't it, through life, and that journey to Hong Kong, and then what you learned there, and then how you've used that subsequently in the McKinsey experience.
Yeah.
Tell us then about the younger generation. You've spoken a little bit about that already. Let's start with what advice would you give for somebody that is youngish, entrepreneurial? What advice would you give them if they were just starting out on an entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I think that your network is hugely important. So start something, network, and shout about it, and just be bold. If it doesn't work, you can always do something else. You can start again. You've got to be bold. Make sure, obviously, you've got enough money to survive. And I was lucky that I had a husband that supported me when I started my business. But my daughter started a business when she was, I think, 20. And it was an online business. She sold beautiful Vietnamese coats online, and had a party to sort of launch it all. And she had these amazing boxes made. And I helped her a bit financially, but she did have some of her own money. But she went for it, and with a friend, and I guess they did it for a couple of years, and then they thought, it's time to do something else, and they just kind of stopped. I still have a lot of jackets in my loft, but I just encourage someone to do something for themselves. It's exciting, and you just have to go for it, and commitment. I saw a lady talk on Monday, Penny Mallory, who said that commitment is huge. Why be 90% committed? You have to be 100% committed.
Absolutely.
In whatever you do. There's no point in any other percentage. You've got to commit. And I think that's what I'd say to people. And I think one of the questions later is what will say. A couple of things that people have told me along the way is change isn't going to kill you, it's going to make you stronger. So I think that's really important. And I think the other thing is you make your own luck. That's one of my big sayings.
Yeah.
And that's to do with getting out there, networking, and actually, believing that you can do it.
Great advice. I'm going to, when this goes live, I'm going to direct my 18-year-old niece to this part of our conversation, because she's also thinking about it. For her, it's nails, and she's thinking about starting her own nail business in Bath. So, she's going to be.
They're in the TikTok generation. Look at there's a girl on TikTok who's got like 2 billion followers. She's an American dance person on TikTok. I've never seen her. She looks amazing. But, there's so much you can do now with social media.
It's huge.
And if you've got a skill, then just do it. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've launched a mentorship, or you're involved with mentoring young people, I think. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'm part of quite a few organizations. One is called Founders for Schools. So founders go into schools to talk about being an entrepreneur, what kind of business they've started. So it might be like a speed dating with year 10. And I'm also part of an industry body, which is called Power of Events. And that was started after COVID, when we realized that the government didn't know what the hell we did. An amazing guy, Rick Stainton, has started this thing called Power of Events. And they go out to loads of schools, telling schools about what a brilliant industry it is. Because events, there's so many strands to events. You can do sporting events, marathons, you can do weddings, you can do private parties, conferences, charity events. There's so many different elements to event management. I'm also part of Elevate, which is a mentoring um, company for our industry. Amazing. They're just about to launch this next. I think they've been doing it for 10 years. They've got 525 people mentoring mentors and mentees this year, which is incredible. I've got two mentees from that. I'm also a mentor for NOWI, which is a women's organization in events. So I have a mentor there. We're also a B Corp, which we got our B Corp this year. So I'm also very involved in our social impact, which is quite exciting. So you might realize that I don't do any events really anymore. So I deal more with social impact, obviously, helping the leadership team run the business. But I really enjoy the mentorship.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's great that you are all that wealth of experience you have. You're passing that down. That's wonderful. I was going to ask you about B Corp earlier. Yeah. I don't know if everybody is familiar with B Corp. Can you just give us the sort of the elevator on that?
Yeah. So B Corp, I went to an event probably 2 or 3 years ago, and it was at a hotel, 5-star hotel, and they just got their B Corp. And it's basically you have to change your memorandum and articles of association of your company to say that you are going to be a force for good in business. And that's for your team, for your clients, for the climate, everything. So B Corp for me was really important to get. And it takes a lot. It took us a year to answer all the questions in order to change all our policies internally to get to a B Corp certification. So it's really important to me to give something back. Our events are as sustainable as they can be. We've got great policies. We're predominantly female, actually, in our office, apart from my husband and Dan. But we have all the right policies in place for maternity and, taking sick days or, doing doing charity days and things like that. So we've got everything in place to be a good B Corp company. And I think there are probably about 2,000 of them in the UK at the moment. It was an American initiative. But in the UK, I think there's 2,000 B Corp companies, and that can range from anything from Lush Cosmetics to from the bicycle company, I think you just mentioned.
They could well be.
Yeah, I think they're a B Corp.
Yeah.
So it's good also that we try and work together with other B Corps, so we support them, which, some of our suppliers are B Corp. So it's just a generally all-round good thing to do.
Do you find that clients are increasingly asking for sustainable credentials and producing events in a sustainable way?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And we work really hard with them to make sure that happens.
Great. Last question. And you've already given, I think, quite a lot of things that you find personally motivating. You talked about 100% commitment, etc. I'm curious about somebody that's inspired you. I think you're inspiring a lot of people.
Thank you.
But who's inspired you? And some people have had quite a few people choose somebody early in their career that's sort of, they've wanted to emulate or they've made a particular impression on them, or it could be something in the public eye, or it could be a family member. But who perhaps has had the best, most positive influence on your professional career?
Yeah, I can answer that quite easily. And as I mentioned, I know this sounds a bit strange, but the company I work for gave me so much confidence in that it didn't matter who you were or what level you were, what age you were, that if you had an idea, that they would take it on board and say, that's a great idea. And or maybe it's not a great idea, but yes, thank you, we'll think about it, or something like that. So that company, McKinsey, basically, I just learned so much. And in fact, the last managing partner, his name's Ian Davis, and he was the managing partner of the London office and then globally. And he was just one of the kindest men and one of the most inspiring men that I'd ever met. He actually created the Andrex puppy ad. That was one of his things that he did in life. But I don't know, he was just such a great leader. And I think not with that company background and just him. I think I felt when I left and started my own business, they supported me along the way as well. So, I think that I'd have to say it's Ian. And
Fantastic.
He looked me out just during COVID, actually. He looked me up and they managed to find me. He thought I'd retired. No. I got hold of him and he said, Amanda, I need to organize a party. Can you help me? And I was like, absolutely. So it was lovely. It kind of just went full circle. And there were all these guests coming in fact, who I knew. And they're just, Amanda, I think they just thought that, I was still working for the firm back in the day. But it was just, it was lovely to go full circle and to do something for him that made him and his wife really happy. So I'd say it's definitely.
That's a wonderful story. Fantastic. Love that. And it's interesting, isn't it, that, we have certain teachers at school that perhaps we are lucky enough sometimes to remember in that way. And then there are these people in our professional lives who have they probably don't realize it, but they've had this huge, impact for a long time in our professional careers. Yeah, that's a great story. Amanda, thank you so much for this conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
That's a pleasure. I've enjoyed it too. Thanks, Matt.
And good luck with the mentoring. I'm sure a lot of people are benefiting from that. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
So much.
And we forgot to mention about the Pimlico Academy, who we're also
We did. We can mention it now quickly. Let's mention that quickly now. Yeah,
we did a sponsored walk, raised a lot of money, and we're sponsoring the Pimlico Academy for a year. So we go into the school and help them with their career choices and talk to them business study groups and helping them with their school events. So we're really looking forward to that. So that's a lovely thing that we're doing as well.
Fantastic. Love it. Amanda, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.